Hello everyone, I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy, but this channel is all about creating journals so that I may share my ancestral stories with my children and grandchildren. Of course, my children are married to men that have gray hair. They have gray hair. You get it. You understand. And I don't want to just give them printouts of family trees and pedigree charts. But I want to tell you something. The latest thing people have been talking about in junk journaling is the use of glassine bags, and I ran out of them. Of course, Amazon could get them to me in a day or two, and I figured, well, wait a minute, I've got a whole tablet of tracing paper, and yes, I have been making all sorts of little glassine bags from scratch using tracing paper. All I had to do was um, make a little fold on the side, and I use my very pointed end of my art glitter glue because it makes it very easy when you forget to do the glue across the bottom like this, um, to put a very thin line that won't affect, the process. Now, the intrigue is that you have, let me close this a little. The intrigue is that you have an interesting, colorful kind of a tag that you've made that you can kind of see through the glassine bag. That works. This is one using another tag that I made and embellished and did some sewing around the edge. I haven't sewn or glued this one yet. But then I decided to take it a step further. Farther, whatever the word is, I've added some thick lace, some Tim Holtz butterflies and flowers, and I've also done, I couldn't stitch on this because tissue paper is very fragile, lightweight. And so I just made stitching outlines with my micron pen, fine point. Yeah, it works. And I'm careful to leave room somewhere, in this case on the back, to write a little saying that tickles my fancy. So when a grandchild turns the page in the journal that I'm making for them, they'll be curious, they'll pull this out, they'll flip it over, and they'll see words of grandmother. I will be famous at that point, I think. Okay, here's a couple of others that I did. I had some little cast-offs because this was very long to begin with, and I shortened it. And I added another Tim Holtz. No, this is something I got out of one of my old gardening books. A Tim Holtz ticket, but I cut the number off. And this is just gauze or cheesecloth, as they call it. And I chose not to make the little dip and just cut it straight across and add some inking to make it look slightly older than it really is. And here is the thing that I would be writing my family little story about. It'd have to be a brief little anecdote, or else I'd have to print very tiny. This also, being able to make it with tracing paper from scratch helps you deal with ephemera that's not the usual shape. So this works well. And there's room on the back, as I say. I haven't antiqued that one yet. Here's another one where I added a tab top rather than the ribbon, the sari silk, or some ribboning that I have, and made space with tea-dyed coffee, or tea-dyed, I think this is actually the coffee stain paper. And that's where I will write a little note. Remember who loves you. I'm going to make sure to do that in everyone's journal in a couple of places. And the next thing I'm going to be doing is showing you how I'm going to present multiple journals in a box. Now, I'm also a quilter, and I used to order a lot of things, the monthly thing, and I have these really cool boxes, a ton of them, enough to put several different size journals in there for each of my descendants. That's my plan. So I'm going to show you how I will decorate that and come up with some interesting alternatives for using junk that I would have thrown away. Not the quilty box stuff was way cool, but that I didn't want to waste that. We might do that with Amazon boxes as well, whatever you think best. Anyway, nothing left to say, but I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing and journal making, everybody. That's a wrap.